Alrighty, so here's the first question. And what I did was it wants an equation of a circle. So see, here's your four choices. And the center's at 2, -4. So I started here at 0, 0. I went over 2, and then I went down 4. So I put C for center. And then this is what's probably new, Leone, is tangent to the line x equals -2. So here's a line x equals -2. You should have learned that in Algebra 1. A line that's x equals -2, what you do is you literally start at the origin and you go an x value of -2. So 1, 2, and I put a dot here. And the line always runs perpendicular to the axis that it's hitting. Remember, we talked about perpendicular. You got like right angles here. Okay, so x equals will always kind of intersect or go through this x-axis. Okay, now let's talk about this word tangent here. When something's tangent, what that means is the circle being tangent to this line means the circle is going to hit this line in one spot. Okay, so what that means is the circle's going to go, now just bear with me a second and it'll make sense, but 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from this center 4 spots, 4 spots, and 4 spots. And I'm going to put 4 dots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 3. And there's a fourth one. So what I'm doing is I'm going to connect these to make a circle now. I'm not going to make a beautiful one, but I'll do the best I can. All right, so, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Now you see why I'm a math teacher and not an artist. Okay, there we go. You get the gist. All right, so there's my circle. Now let me talk again about the word tangent. So the word tangent just means that this circle will hit this line just in this one spot and only in that one spot. So I'm going to give you another quick example. So like if I were to just draw a circle, a line could go through it like that. And do you see then it hits it in 2 spots, but tangent means only in 1. Okay, now likewise, I could have a circle and a line and it doesn't even hit at all. There's no intersection points. So when you see that word tangent, it means that you are going to intersect, but only in one spot. So the only way that can happen is if this edge of the circle hits the line. Okay, now, why do you think they asked you to do this? Because now we know how long this radius is. Okay, so here, let me just show you. So then this is the length of your radius right here. And you can see that that radius is 4. Okay, let me just write down some things that we do know. So we know that the center is 2, -4. And now we know that the radius is 4. So we can take this info up here and we can figure out which answer choice is the correct one. Now remember, when we're doing the center points, we change the signs. So we should have a -2 that we're looking for and a +4 that we're looking for, which would mean it would be these two, right? Because here and here, the signs don't change. Okay, so it's not going to be choice 3 or 4. Now remember that the radius is 4, but what goes here is the radius squared. So your final answer should be this one, number 2. All right, so the second question. So I'll set you up on the first step. And remember, the first thing that we do is, well, 2 things. We move the constant over to the other side. So since that's a positive, we negate it. And then remember, we group our x's together with a box, group our y's together with a box. And if this left side of the equal sign here has 1, 2 boxes, then the right side of the equal sign will have 2 boxes. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video. I want you to finish this question, and then let's see if you and I get the same answer. Now, please don't forget that you need this plus sign right here. Okay, so pause me now, work the question out, and then come back and check it. All right, so we got a lot of jibber jabber going on here, but remember the rule. You take half of this middle term, which we get 1, That's where this 1 comes from. Then we take this 1, which is positive because that was positive. We square it and we get 1. If you put a 1 in this box, you put a 1 in this box. Okay, kind of repeat the same thing. So negative 16, take half of that, it's negative 8. That's why we have minus 8 here. Then we take that negative 8 in parentheses, square it, positive 64, both sides. Okay, and then remember, I'm just going to rewrite this, but then you're going to have, there we go, x plus 1, that will always be squared, plus y minus 8, that will always be squared. And then all you have to do is add the negative 49, the 1, and the 64 together, which will be 16. And now we can kind of answer that question. So the center should be negative 1 comma 8. Remember, we change the signs, and the radius is always the square root of that number. So the square root of 16, which is 4. Okay, and then that would give us choice 2. All right, so for this one, I would like you to try this one on your own. You can use a calculator, not a problem. Actually, I think you're going to need to use a calculator. And then unpause the video and check your work. All righty, so this is the one, if you remember, that if you look through this, there are no regular x's here, so that just stays. And this coordinate is going to end up being 0. Okay, so then I grouped this together. I took half of negative 12, which is negative 6, and then I squared negative 6. I got positive 36 here and here. And remember, I didn't write it, maybe I should, but I added 20.25 and I added 20.25 to both sides. Okay, all right, so then the next step down, I just added these guys right here, and here we go, I'm all ready. So my center, since there's no parentheses in this one, that means that its coordinate will be 0, comma 6. Remember, we changed the sign of what's in the parentheses. And then the radius is going to be the square root of 56.25. And use a calculator, that's going to end up being 7.5. Okay, so then your answer is choice 1. Alrighty, so I think that you probably got the hang of this, so I want you to pause me, do this question on your own, come back, and I'll have the answer for you. And there you go. Your answer is choice 4. Again, Leone, remember that this plus sign should be here. Okay, so don't forget that. Make sure that these guys are squared. And remember, again, we're taking the opposite sign when we're figuring out the center, and we square root that number to get the radius. Okay, that's it. Alrighty, so hopefully you've taken a moment and you've read the question. This one's a little different, and I kind of gave it to you because I know that you're pretty smart with this, but it's not something that we did before. Okay, so we have segments JM, and it has the endpoints of J and M. Okay, an equation of a perpendicular. Now, bisector I'll talk about in a minute because we didn't talk about that, but you know perpendicular. What do you know about those slopes? They should be negative reciprocals, right? Now, the reason why I chose this question was you brought this up at our tutoring session yesterday, and you were talking about slope, okay? And now remember, the letter that we use for slope is M, and the formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so I'm going to find the slope of that line. All right, so now it doesn't matter, you have to put the y's on the top, but it doesn't matter what you make, you know, x1 and y1 and all of that. So I'm going to make this x1, so then obviously that's going to be y1. And this is x2, and then this has to be y2. Okay, so if I put that in the formula, I'm going to do negative 9 minus 1 over 7 minus negative 5. Okay, and I'm going to work that out. That's negative 10 over 12, and I'm going to reduce that. 2 goes into both of those, so that's negative 5 over 6. Okay, now what did I just find? I just found the slope of the line JM. What they want is an equation of a perpendicular line to JM. So then what I know is if I want a perpendicular line, the perpendicular line slope will be the negative reciprocal. So there's the slope of the perpendicular line. So if I go up and I look at the 4 answer choices, these are not going to be it because I'm looking for this slope. Now remember, this is negative, so that's positive. Flip, flip. Okay, so not this, not this. So it's got to be one of these guys. Now I have to figure out what the heck this stuff means. So I think a picture might be a better way to go here so you can kind of get the gist of it. All right, so I just plotted J and M and I drew a line straight through them. Now, if you're going to do it this way, which is totally fine, you just really want to make sure that you use a ruler. I didn't because I don't have one, but you would definitely want to use a ruler. All right, so what does this word mean? Bisect. Bi means to, sect means to cut, like when you dissect, I don't know, a fetal pig or a worm or whatever it is that you do in science class. You cut it, okay? But we're going to cut into 2 equal parts. So what I want to do is I want to cut this thing into 2 equal parts. So here's the cheater way of doing it. You ready? So what I do is I count the number of boxes that I have going right here. All right, so I start here. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 boxes. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing here. Now, P.S. Don't think that 10, oops, let me just back up a second here. There we go. Do you notice that this is 10? Okay, that's not ironic. So take a lucky guess. This should be 12. Okay, so I've got 10 boxes this way and I've got 12 boxes this way. All right, if I want to bisect, cut into 2 equal parts, I'm going to take half of this number and half of this number. Ooh, which is 5, right? So watch. So I'm going to go, oops, hold on a second right here. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bing, right there. That point right there is, hold on right a second. Let me just make that. There we go. That's the middle of JM. Okay, so we're looking for it to bisect, and bisect means that this piece here should be equal to this piece here. And I go down 5 over 6. Now, if you count from here, watch, you go down 5 and over 6. So that's how I know that that's the middle. Okay, so this is asking for an equation of a line that's perpendicular. We got that part. Bisector. All right, so this point right here, we have to find the coordinates of that point. And then believe it or not, we're done. So the coordinates of that point, if I go from the origin, right, over 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are the points, or I should say the coordinates, 1, comma, -4. So this is what we need to answer the question up here. Okay, change the sign, boom, change the sign, boom. So your answer is choice 4. Okay, so this point right here is the point that we're using in the equation. Now you might ask why? Okay, well, because what we're going to do, let me pick a different color ink here. Okay, what we're going to do from here, this point, is I'm going to use this slope. So watch, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dot right there. And now, if I were to connect those dots, this green line right here is perpendicular to the blue line. Okay, remember what we talked about with perpendicular. Perpendicular forms right angles. See how that looks like those are right angles? And it bisects, in other words, it cuts this blue line into 2 equal parts. Okay, there we go. All right, so this one is more similar. Whoops, let me get myself situated here. This one is more similar to what we were doing in our tutoring session. Okay, now remember, every line we want it to be in the form y equals mx plus b. Now, let me actually change what I just said. If the answer choices are in y equals mx plus b, which all of these are, then we want this line in y equals mx plus b. Do you remember how to do that? Okay. If you do, pause me and then do it and then turn the video back on. Okay. All right, so you should subtract 3x, subtract 3x, right? Put the line underneath that. So then I'm going to get 2y equals, now it's mx, so the negative 3x comes first, plus b. Now you're going to, one at a time, divide everything by 2. So y equals negative 3 halves x plus 1 half. Okay, now they want a line that is perpendicular to the line that we have right here. So remember, perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slopes. This one right here is already negative. So the slope of the perpendicular line, right, is going to be positive. And then we flip it. So we're looking for the answer choice that has a slope of 2/3, and it's only that one. There's your answer. Okay, same thing on this one, Leone. You're going to pause me because I know you know how to do this question. Answer it and then come back. All right, so we got 3x minus 5y equals 8. So I'm going to subtract that 3x over. I'm just looking for the slope because that's all the question's asking for. Has a slope of. Okay, so negative 5y equals, remember, mx plus b. Then we're just going to divide everything by negative 5. All right, so y equals, now be a little careful here, 2 negatives, right, when you're dividing, makes a positive. And this is going to become minus 8/5. Now, it's just asking for the slope, just the slope. So look, this is your slope right here. Okay, so that's the slope of the original line. They want the slope of a perpendicular line. So be careful not to choose choice 1, okay, because they want the slope of a perpendicular line. So the perpendicular line, right, remember the slopes are negative reciprocals. So there's your answer, choice 4. Okay, if you know how to do this question, why don't you start it off? Pause me. If you get stuck, turn it back on. All right, so I got 5x minus 4y equals 10. I'm going to put this in y equals mx plus b form, so I'm going to do this. Okay, I'm just trying to get that y by itself. Remember, mx plus b. Now I'm going to divide everything by negative 4. So I've got y equals, that's positive 5/4 x. And this would be minus, now 10 over 4 I can divide by 2. So that's going to be 5/2. All right, now I'm going to read the question a little bit better. It says determine and state an equation of the line perpendicular to this guy. All right, so just like the last two, perpendicular, remember perpendicular lines, right, their slopes are negative reciprocals. Now, here's the thing, and it passes through that point 5/12. We did do one of these at the very beginning of our tutoring session yesterday. So what they really want you to do is, well, you know what, Leone? We can do this 2 ways. We can either find the b, or remember I showed you both ways. We could do y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. I think you liked this way better. It was a lot quicker. So we're using that 0.5 comma 12. So this is really the x1 and this is the y1. So let's just plug that in. So it would be y minus 12 equals the slope, right? Negative 4/5. Okay, and remember, we got the negative 4/5 right here. We took the negative reciprocal. And then x minus 5. And there you go. It doesn't tell you how you have to write the equation. It just says determinant state in equation. Now, if you wanted to do the other way, remember that 12, let me just get my pointer out. This is the y value and this is the x value. So I'm going to put 12 here and I would put 5 here. Okay, so I could do 12 equals -4/5 times 5 plus b. And then I would just do this. I would get that. Okay, so then I'd add 4, and there's my b. Now, don't think that you're done there, because then what you'd have to do is take this whole equation and plug in the b. So your final answer would be y equals -4/5 x plus 16. Okay, these are the same thing. Remember, we also talked about that. I personally think this is a whole lot quicker, and if it's not a multiple choice question, I would do it that way, but it's up to you. Okay, so we have triangle RST and the vertices are. So all I did was I took these and I put it on a grid. Okay, I like visuals. All right, it says determinant state and equation of a line. Now remember, we can do the two different equations. We can either do y equals mx plus b, or we can do y minus y1. Here, let me write that down. Okay, so we have two choices. Y equals mx plus b, or we could do y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, it doesn't say how we have to write it. I like this one, it's easier. Okay, let's talk about what it's really asking though. Let's hear. So determinant state and equation of a line. Now here we go. It has to be parallel to RT. So RT, but it passes through point S. Okay, so like here's RT, so that line would have to be something like that. So remember what parallel lines have. They have the same slope, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by finding the slope of, what are we doing? RT, right? RT. All right, so here we go. So RT, I'm going to go, this is x1, y1, and this is x2, y2. All right, y is on top. So -4 minus -2, and then 4 minus -3. Okay, so that ends up giving us -2. And here we've got 7. So there's the slope of RT. So if the slope of RT is -2/7, then what would be the slope of the new line that will be parallel to RT? Parallel lines, right? So then wouldn't that mean that that slope would also be -2/7? Parallel lines have the same slope. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit here because I think it'll be a little bit easier. So if I go here, right, because this new line has to pass through point S. So I'm going to point S, and I know the slope is -2/7. So watch, I'm going to go down 2, then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and I am going to put a point there. So right there. Then I'm going to do the same thing, just going in the other direction. So I'm going to go from here, and I'm going to go up 2, and then left 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and I'm going to put a dot right there. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. I lost my count already. Okay, so let me go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go, like that. Okay, now I'm going to draw a line. And that line, if you look, do you see that it is parallel to that line? Okay, so the blue line is the equation that they're asking you for. Now, remember, when we use this equation, we need a point. Well, we got it right here, S. That's a point on the line. Now, by the way, I could use this point. I could use this point. Okay, any point that's like, that meets at a nice, pretty spot. Like I wouldn't want this point because I have no idea what the coordinates of that are. But you could pick this one, you could pick this one, you could pick this one. But for simplicity's sake, I am going to pick S. So then I'm going to do y minus 2 equals the slope, which we know is the same as the slope of RT, negative 2 over 7, and then x minus 3. And there's your answer.